Formidable stretches were in the north, those between the Pripyat marshes and the upper Dniester, and those guarding the approaches to key cities and towns near the frontier zone: Leningrad, Pskov, Smolensk, Kiev, Korostan and Odessa. The system was capable of causing immense problems for any invader, and it sheltered the main Red Army formations along with their supply depots and training areas. By 1941, Russian expansion in Poland, the Baltic and Romania had left the defenses of the Stalin Line well to the east of the Soviet frontier. Stalin now insisted that the Red Army should move west, leaving its fortifications and supply dumps behind, and take up positions on the new borders. Stalin's insistence on a forward defense was strongly opposed by many Russian commanders. They feared that in the event of a German attack, they would be outflanked all too quickly. There was little time to build new defences, and the Army's lines of communication to its base areas were now dangerously stretched. Nor were there adequate mobile forces well behind the borders to counter-attack a German breakthrough. Stalin, however, had his own agenda. He had hopes that he might yet mount another invasion of Finland or snatch more territory in the Balkans. Meanwhile, the Red Army was expected to mount a defense of the Soviet Union from little more than an incomplete system of trenches. Walter von Brauchitsch was appointed by Hitler Commander-in-Chief of the German Army in 1938. A competent, but by no means outstanding soldier, he was chosen more for his pliability than for his professional qualities. At the same time, the once powerful post of Commander-in-Chief was downgraded, becoming merely an instrument for carrying out Hitler's orders. Although Brauchitsch was in charge of operational matters during the Polish and Western campaigns, he had no real say in the way the war as a whole was fought. On one occasion, Brauchitsch did try to stand up to Hitler. During the preparation of the French campaign, he criticized the logistical side of the plan, and for his pains, he was severely reprimanded. To add to the indignity, Hitler refused to let him resign. When Operation Barbarossa was being drawn up, Brauchitsch voiced doubts that the Luftwaffe could fight both Britain and Russia at once. Hitler instantly browbeat him into submission, and when Brauchitsch supported a direct thrust at Moscow, he was told that only ossified brains could think of such an idea. Humiliated, it was the last attempt Brauchitsch made to challenge Hitler's plan or to defend the professional independence of the German army. Georgy Zhukov had joined the Russian army during the Great War and the Red Army in 1918, rising quickly through the ranks. A ruthless and hard-driving commander, utterly intolerant of weaknesses in his subordinates, Zhukov made his reputation during the Russian-Japanese War in Mongolia in 1939. There, he won his victories by insisting on rigid cooperation between artillery, tanks and infantry, and by a total disregard for casualties. In January 1941, Zhukov had taken part in elaborate war games, supervised by the Defense Commissar, Marshal Timoshenko. Zhukov had commanded the forces representing the Germans and had succeeded in wiping out the Russian defenders on the borders and penetrating deep into Soviet territory. Afterwards, Stalin fired the chief of the General Staff and Zhukov was given his job. Like virtually all Soviet commanders, Zhukov subscribed to the belief that the best form of defense was attack, and that to do this, room was needed for maneuver. He disagreed profoundly with Stalin's plan for a forward defense of the western frontiers, and wanted to hold back strong formations in the interior. Although Zhukov would go on to be one of the few Red Army commanders willing to argue openly with the dictator, this time he did not dare press his case too hard. Following his decision to invade Russia, Hitler had ordered a major expansion in the German army. By the time of Operation Barbarossa, it would be almost 4 million strong, with over 200 divisions. However, there would be no corresponding increase in quality. At Hitler's insistence, the number of panzer divisions had been doubled from 10 to 20. Typically, the order had been made without considering where the extra tanks were to come from. As a result, the number of machines in each division fell by more than a third, down to an average of 160 tanks. Nor were there enough of the newer, heavier models to compensate. More than half the machines available for Barbarossa would be Mark 1s and 2s and Czech 38s, light tanks, never meant to be part of the panzer divisions. There was also a shortage of supporting vehicles. Each armoured division needed almost 3,000 trucks to carry infantry, fuel and other supplies. Newly formed motorised infantry divisions also needed trucks, and Hitler had made no provision for increased production. Many units were instead equipped with captured vehicles, mostly French, much less robust than German types. There was also a 50% shortfall in stocks of tyres. In fact, so far was the German army from being a mechanized fighting force that the infantry divisions would haul their supplies into the Soviet Union using 625,000 horses. In Poland and the West, the Luftwaffe had played a key role in supporting ground operations. German aircraft had provided an umbrella for the infantry, had disrupted enemy communications, and had hammered troop concentrations and fortified positions. This time, it was by no means certain that the Air Force could perform anything like as well. In the Battle of Britain, the Luftwaffe had been dreadfully mauled, and it had no more aircraft for the Russian campaign than it had deployed against France in 1940. Meantime, 1/3 of its available machines were desperately in need of service or repair.